I always thought that not being able to stick to a diet was my own massive failure. I figured I just didn't have any willpower or self-discipline. I considered this habit of suddenly eating junk food in the middle of the night a personal weakness. But a few days ago, I found out a really weird scientific truth. I learned what actually happens inside our brains after eating junk food for just 5 days straight. Finding this out completely changed how I look at myself. The real reason behind this is hyperpalatable foods. These foods are literally engineered to break your brain's stop switch. At 2 a.m., when I am standing in front of the yellow glow of my suburban kitchen fridge, holding a half-eaten bag of potato chips in my hand, I know I am full, but I still can't stop eating. I bet this has happened to you plenty of times too. You probably thought you were just enjoying the taste of the food, but right then, your brain is actually the victim of a chemical hijack. We usually think that eating unhealthy food makes us slowly gain weight. We assume it is a long-term problem that builds up in the body over years. But scientists are now saying something completely different. The brain reacts to these foods much faster. A wild study recently came out in the journal Nature Metabolism. They gave some healthy young guys extra high-calorie snacks along with their normal diet for 5 days. Just 5 days. These foods were small but packed with calories. That is the biggest feature of modern processed foods. After 5 days, it turned out their brain's ability to process insulin had completely changed. Whenever we hear about insulin, we think of diabetes or blood sugar. But insulin does things inside our brains that you probably never even imagined. When we are healthy, insulin controls our hunger and calms our desire to eat. It even helps us retain our memory. The scientists in this study used a special nasal spray to deliver insulin straight into the brain. Then they watched the brain activity in an MRI machine. They saw that after just 5 days on this diet, the brain's reward center became way more active. This meant food was looking a lot more appealing to them than before. The food probably didn't taste much different, but inside their brains, the craving for food had multiplied. And you know the scariest part is that all of this was happening before gaining even a single ounce of weight. Their blood sugar levels were totally normal too. From the outside, their bodies looked perfectly healthy, but inside their metabolism had completely shifted. When they went back to their normal diet after 5 days, another crazy thing happened. Even though some parts of their brain went back to normal, many parts didn't. The areas linked to memory and visual processing were barely responding to the insulin. The brain just couldn't fully go back to the way it was. Honestly, I can't say if this brain change is permanently the same for everyone, but it is certain that our brains surrender to these foods very quickly. So the question is, why does this happen? The answer hides inside a chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is the main driver of our brain's reward system. When you put a sweet or processed food in your mouth, your taste buds wake up. They send a signal to the cerebral cortex in your brain. From there, this signal travels to the dopamine hotspots in the brain. Your brain then subconsciously asks a question: should I do this again? In response, your reward system says, yeah, absolutely. Things like alcohol or nicotine create excessive amounts of dopamine in the brain. Sugar works the exact same way, even if the effect isn't quite as intense as drugs. But sugar has a very weird feature. If you eat a healthy food every day, like say broccoli or normal vegetables, on the first day, your dopamine will go up a little bit. But if you eat the same food for a few days straight, the dopamine levels will slowly drop. Eventually, your brain will say this food again and lose all excitement for it. From an evolutionary standpoint, this was really necessary for us because we need different types of nutrients to survive. So our brains were always looking for new foods. But hyperpalatable foods completely break this natural rule. When you eat these processed foods mixed with sugar and fat, fat, the dopamine never drops. Your brain feels the same exact excitement over and over again, which makes you addicted to these foods. Sometimes it feels like my own body is betraying me because it doesn't understand what's real food and what's from a factory. Food companies know all about this weakness. They make food so that more than 25% of the calories come from fat, along with a specific amount of sodium or salt. Or they create a perfect mix of 20% fat and 20% sugar. You almost never see a mix of fat and sugar like that in nature. This artificial mix fools the hormones inside your stomach. Normally, after eating, our body creates a hormone called leptin. Leptin tells the brain that we are full and need to stop now. But when you eat hyperpalatable foods, this signal doesn't work. Your stomach might be bloated from gas or too much food, but your brain is telling you that you are still hungry. This is not a sign of weak willpower. It is a perfectly engineered biological trap. Your brain is being rewired or reprogrammed so that you are never satisfied. This is exactly why you can still find room for ice cream after eating an entire pizza. So if you think getting out of this is easy, no, actually, it's not easy. It's a battle. This is not about blaming yourself. It is not about blaming your body either. The problem comes from this modern diet all around us. So how do you get out of this cycle? You don't have to count calories or start a strict diet. The first step is giving your body a break from these hyperpalatable foods. Stay away from these factory foods for just 5 days and see how your brain refreshes itself. You need to give your brain time to go back to its old signaling system. Going back to natural foods lets the brain slowly get its insulin and dopamine balance back. Take this guilt off your shoulders. You are not the only one struggling with this. These foods were literally made in a lab to trick all of our brains. Now you know the problem isn't your willpower. The problem is the food that hijacked your brain's control panel. I want to know which foods you guys are most addicted to. What is that one snack you can never resist when it is right in front of you? Let me know down in the comments. Let's see which food is your brain's weakness.